Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20, and welcome to episode 16 of Direwolf20's Dyson Sphere program Let's Play series, where today, I'm ready to launch some solar sails up at the sun. Last episode, we automated the production of solar sails. We're doing pretty good, as far as I know, on solar sail production. We're making about 120 per minute, which is not bad at all. And we're going to start shooting them at the sun, so we can get some solar energy going on. Does that sound like a plan? I hope so, because that's pretty much what we're doing. That is pretty much what we're doing here today. Let's make sure that we've got a connection to our array receiver, so he can actually start, you know, connecting to our main environment here, or our main network. So there's two things we need to do to start launching solar sails up at the sun. Step one is we need to open up a new view that we've never really looked at before, except for like a brief second during last episode when I was talking about it, and that is the Dyson Sphere configuration view. So we're familiar with the map view of our planet. Woo! We're familiar with the solar system view. Huzzah! And now we can open up, using the Y hotkey or this button right here, the Dyson Sphere view. And this is where we can set up Dyson swarms and Dyson shells. So what's cool about this game is you can build the structure around the sun however you want, and you can design it and build it in any way, shape, and form. So Dyson swarms are basically just rings around the star of solar sails, where the Dyson shell will be a structure that you can design. So if you want to make it like a big sphere, that's cool. That's like a traditional Dyson sphere, and that's cool. But you can do lots of other designs and patterns too. So once we get to the point where we can deploy the Dyson shell, we will see a different way to set this up. But what I want to set up first is the Dyson swarm. So you can see on this view here, you can see the star illumination. So basically the brighter the star is, the more energy we're going to get. It's a pretty standard star, so almost, you know, star brightness of 1, so it's pretty average. Generation capacity is how much power we're capable of generating right now, but don't forget about our loss that we have. Dyson Swarm is going to be the solar sails that we're launching. We're going to see how many sails are in orbit and what their generational capacity is, and we can also see what orbits there are. So we can hit orbit number 1, and we can kind of see what it looks like. So, looks good, right? Yeah, so this is orbit number 1. So if we started launching these guys right now, they would kind of go around the sun. Pretty simple and straightforward like that. Now, if we wanted to, we could add an orbit here, and we could have orbit number 2, right? And there's a bunch of stuff we can change about it. And I'm pretty sure that this is an accurate statement, these metrics will not affect the generational capacity. You'll generate the same amount of power however you want. So this is purely speaking a visual thing, right? But you can change the radius, so basically how far or close it is, and certain radii are too close to like a planet's orbit or something like that, so you can't set it up to be the same orbit as a planet, right? But you can make it as you know, far and tight to the sun as you want. You can also do the inclination, which as you can see kind of rotates it around like this, so you can decide like how things will go. And then the longitude of AN, which I don't, well, that does that. Okay, cool. Yeah, neato. Cool. So if you wanted to like have multiple orbits, you can, and you can literally like create all kinds of different cool looking orbits, right? So if we showed all orbits here, if we started launching Dyson swarms like this right now, we would see, you know, orbit 1, orbit 2, etc., right? So this is orbit 1, this is orbit 2. Looks pretty cool. And we can also delete that orbit if we want. I don't think you can change orbit 1, but you can add, you know, as up to like, you know, what is that, 20-ish different orbits. And again, purely for visual purposes, because they look cool. Right? That's all there is to it. They look cool. Right? So if you want to have like a nice little angle like this, looks kind of cool. 45-degree angle? Oh, looks neat. And now, will this do much? Yeah, that's cool. I have no idea. I'm just picking something at random here. We'll see if that works out. Yeah, that looks kind of cool. All right. So now when you look at your EM rail ejectors, you'll notice that there are different orbits available here. So obviously only 1 and 2 are available because that's all I've configured. I think if I hit the edit orbit button, it'll open up that same screen. We can choose none, or we can choose orbit 1, or orbit 2. And you'll kind of see the EM rail ejector like aim itself at the sun, right? So let's put it into orbit 2, because that looked pretty cool. So I'm going to snag some solar sails here, like so. And just go ahead and stick them in the rail ejector here. And now the rail ejector is going to start launching solar sails. How cool is that? Now, if we look at our planetary view here, we'll actually see the solar sails being launched into orbit. Nice. And if we check in our Dyson sphere view here, we'll see them landing in the orbit as well. So see that happening? It might be a little bit tough to see on the YouTube video, but there's definitely little dots flying over here. The other thing is, if we head up into the sky, whoosh, and head for the planet, you can actually see the solar sails up there. You'll actually also see the Dyson sphere itself. So both very cool things. Man, just look how long deuterium fuel bras last, by the way. But if we fly up into orbit here, we'll see our 20-ish Dyson sphere, or Dyson swarm solar sails hanging out up in orbit. Now remember, they're only going to last for a little bit. They will eventually decay. Until we get to the Dyson structure, the Dyson sphere itself, then the solar sails will embed themselves in the structure and last longer. But these solar sails are absolutely here, ready to roll. How cool is that? And they're just chilling up here. I'm going to slow down. And you can actually see them, the big solar sails just there, collecting energy and beaming it back to our planet. Cool beans? Now, we've obviously stopped launching because I manually put 20 spheres in there. So what we're going to do now, effectively, is just start automating the routing of those sails into the ejectors. So let's set that up. I look forward to getting a higher sail speed. I think I can do that soon. Here we go. Whoosh. Alright, now where am I? I don't even know. Lost in my own museum. I think down here is where the... Yeah, there we go. Now, the EM ejectors definitely need line of sight. So you'll find at some point they'll start complaining about not having line of sight. But let's get these dudes ready to roll. Now, I don't think I can feed directly into them. Yeah, no, you don't feed directly into them. You actually do need to have... let's set this up around here. Like that. So you totally need to have these guys getting, you know, routed into, like so, with sorters. And let's have... that. And then we'll filter out the solar sails. Cool. Alright, now I'm going to copy these settings and paste them across the line. And now my 5 dudes here should start shooting the solar sails up into the sky. And soon we'll have a fully fledged Dyson swarm. How cool is that? Now eventually I'm going to have lots more EM rail ejectors. We're going to have lots more other things launching stuff into space. But this is kind of step 1. Cool. Now look at this. We are generating power. So there's 2 things here. Number 1, continuous receiving. There's a reason I'm putting this up by the pole. When the ray receiver receives energy, he builds up to 100% here. So max output and ray receiving efficiency are tied to each other. So you can see this guy currently is at 4 to 5%, so his max output is around 6.4 megawatts. Let's see. So we're generating not a bad amount of power so far. Pretty cool, right? So our efficiency is 43% because I did that second, thing. Requested power, Dyson sphere status, 15 megawatts out of 4.3. Shows the current total requested power and total power generation performance of the Dyson sphere. Neato. So long story short, the longer you have this thing receiving energy from the Dyson sphere or swarm, the better it is. You want to get it up to 100%, and then it's receiving as much power as possible. So when you first place it and first are generating power, it's not good. Now, if this guy's sitting on the dark side of a planet, his continuous receiving number will drop significantly to the point where it hits 0 again. So generally speaking, you want these to kind of always be in line of sight of the sun, which is why I tend to put them up by the poles. Cool? Okay, not too shabby. And we're probably going to eventually have more of these, because there's a limit to how much power these things can actually output. And you can see that in the max output view here. Eventually they get pretty good, but there's still going to be a limit, and we will still overwhelm that limit to the point where we're going to have, like, dozens of these ray receivers all set up. Cool? So yeah, this is the strength. This is, like, you know, how good it is. Oh, man. We already have we have 200 solar sails in orbit already. Look at that. It happens quickly. It really does. And you can kind of see it if you're looking up in the sky there. See all the solar sails orbiting around the sun? How cool is that, huh? So, solar sail launching is done. Now, note, these guys are currently not able to fire because they kind of have an issue with how, you know, where the sun is relative to their line of sight. So this pitch limit thing is kind of telling you, hey, I can't really see the sun too well right now, so I can't shoot at it. But that's kind of why we also build these at the poles, so they can kind of frequently shoot. There's probably other ways to go ahead and do this. I find that placing the ray receiver at the pole and these guys at the pole are good to go, right? Which is why I started building this in a circle, because my plan is to eventually complete this circle, go all the way around. Which shouldn't be too big of a deal, right? So that should be cool. So eventually we'll build more of these EM rail ejectors. But for now, it's pretty good. Like, we don't have to go crazy. And I don't think there's a limit to how many solar sails can be up in orbit around the sun. I think they'll just keep shooting. Like, totally keep shooting. But this guy's already generating 4 megawatts, which is cool. See, now that the sun's kind of coming into a better angle here, these first few will shoot. So that's kind of good news. Nice. And I think if you adjust the orbit that they're firing into, it might make slightly a bit of a difference into, you know, when they can fire versus not. So that's cool. There's a whole bunch you can read here about, you know, ray receivers and all the stuff. The theoretical max power generation in power generation mode is 30 megawatts. In photon generation mode, which we'll talk about later, is 240 megawatts. It's another mode that these ray receivers can be in. You can change this to photon generation mode once you unlock it, and what it'll do is instead of directly generating power and supplying the grid, it'll generate items called photons, which can be used to make some very powerful stuff. But we'll get there far in the future. For now, we're just going to let our Dyson swarm go. Look at it go. Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. And you're bringing down what again? Let's see. 10 megawatts out of 18. So yeah, 10.2 is the generational capacity. Cool. Yeah, continuous operation will definitely help too. Alright, we'll leave that be. And that's kind of a nice starter Dyson sphere swarm thingy. So FYI, we're currently producing about 120 solar sails per minute, and over the last 10 minutes, we've averaged about 32 consumption per minute. So we'll see. I think once this bar fills out all the way across here, we'll be more accurate. I'm gonna guess we're gonna land around 50 or 60-ish. But long story short, we're producing way more solar sails than we need right now, so this production line is actually working out pretty nice. So I think one of the next major things we're going to work towards is information matrix, which is the purple science research. It's going to need the orange processors, which we can see we know we've already made those, and particle thingies, fiber optics or something like that, particle broadband. This stuff is going to need some of that crystallized silicon, which we're already kind of producing. And it's also going to need an advanced form. We're going to need plastics, and we're going to need this stuff, high-strength material, which is a combination of the graphite or graphene or whatever it is that we're producing super a lot of, and titanium. So super easy. So let's kick off some research and get ready to automate these things and get them cooking. So we're probably going to want to have some structures that we're ready to do. Let's see, how are you cooking for me? Yeah, I would still very much love the option to... I would love it if a Factorio-style approach to, like, drones that bring you stuff could be done in this game. That would be just super cool. 295 sounds like a good number. No, I don't want to be making any of those by hand. We've got them over here. Cool. Because we know we're going to need more of these things, right? So let's just do it. Okay, beautiful. So with this research cooking up, and then I know the next thing I'm going to want to get into is particle technology, so I'm going to queue that up. And high-strength glass, well, maybe. We'll see. I don't know how soon I need that. Probably soonish. And let's go plan where we're going to build this out at. Because we know we're going to want to do stuff, right? And I kind of want to build out kind of like I did earlier, where I've got, you know, the planetary logistics station, a central area designed for managing and deploying this stuff, right? So let's plan that out. I'm going to put it, you know, up here sounds good. Just picking a random spot. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. You good enough to power? Not quite. Now you're happy. And we'll get some drones, which I should have a handful of. Cool. And what you need to make for this stuff. And I'm debating if I want you... I think you're used for a lot, if I remember correctly. So I'll probably just have you do a simple... Bring me graphene and titanium. Okay. Like, I don't know, 500-ish each. Does that sound good? Demand and demand. And this will be made in a chemical facility. Okay. So, very simply, we'll do something like this. And I know we're going to want a lot of these in the long run. So how about we prepare for what's going to be a very healthy amount of these. We're going to need some chemical facilities. Yeah, give me 5. Sounds like a good number to me. Actually, give me 10. Cool. And now I'm about both steel and stone. Nice. Now, obviously, you know, certain resources I can just grab if I had them. I don't have steel or stone in a planetary thingy, but I can grab them from anywhere, which is kind of convenient. Cool. Okay. And research complete. Boom! High strength material. Carbon nanotubes is what they're referred to as. Okay. So your job will be to make carbon nanotubes. We will copy and paste you. Well, actually, I'm going to remove you. I'm going to go you, like that. Cool? And that should be it. It should be very, very simple. And then I'm going to have like this. And that. And then your job will be to supply carbon nanotubes. And I'll let you build up like a few thousand of them. Cool. So now your output will be here and here. and then we can just copy paste you directly. How great is that? Okay. Nice. Cool. Okay, now you should have collected your resources, so that's good times. So you can be this, you can be that, and that is a very nice and an easily expandable way to do carbon nanotubes. So see how awesome planetary logistics can be? It can really make your automation relatively simple, but also very easy to expand. And we're going to be doing more and more of this, even for some technology we've already automated, because soon we're going to get to the point where the amount of circuits we're making is not nearly enough. So rather than just kind of having this hodgepodge like we have over here of a bunch of different things being put together, we're going to eventually have, you know, some good stuff going on, right? We'll have a planetary logistics for all the things, right? Because right now this is kind of just whatever-ish. All right, now for the next thing that we're going to be prepping, we're going to need these guys, particle broadband. That doesn't look bad, but it does need plastic. So we should get plastic added to the logistics network. And the other thing I'd like to do is get these things added to the logistics network. So do you think we could add crystal silicon, like maybe 2,000-ish to store it? I think that's a plan. So here's what I'm going to do. You ready? I'm going to do this. And your job will be this. Your filter will be none. Okay. And then I would like a sorter here. And Mr. Sorter, your job will be to feed into this. Feed into that. Okay. And then feed into this, but I want you to prioritize this output so that anytime this needs to make these things, I want you to do that.
The amount of your solar sails has reached a certain scale, and they have formed a Dyson swarm around the star. You should be able to clearly see it right now. To receive such energy, you have built a ray receiver to absorb the transmission, where Dyson swarm can generate power simultaneously. Every solar sail launched for a certain life cycle. If you want to maintain the Dyson swarm, you have to continue on injecting the solar sails.
Cool. Let's look at the sun real quick. Where is he? Oh, star, where are you? Whoa, look at that. Holy cow, do we have a lot of Dyson swarm stuff going on up there. Look at that. You can absolutely see our swarm around that star. Look at how cool that is. Look at how cool that is, right? How cool is that? How cool is that? Oh, I love it. I love that, how cool that looks. Oh, we're on the wrong pole of the planet. We're way on the wrong side of the planet. Particle control technology for the win. And how's this look? Wow, 36.6 megawatts generational capacity. You might think to yourself, Dyer, that's a lot of power. It's really not. But, it sounds like it, doesn't it? Now, if we wanted to add a third orbit here, that would kind of be cool. Like, what kind of... orbital radius could we do here to make this look super neato? A little wider? Because the original orbit was 180, right? So if I did 360, would that be cool? That sounds cool to me. We'll add a third orbit there. Can I not edit the orbit? I guess I can. I guess I can't. I just kind of want this to be cool looking. Yeah, I like the look of that. Does that look cool? Let's do that. Yeah? So what I can do now, let's get a few more launchers. Can I do that real quick? I can get 5 more. Okay. How's that look? And what I'm going to do with these guys is make them launch to orbit 3. So if I copy you in 1, 2, 3, 4, right, you launch to orbit 3 for me now. Now, did you copy these things? It doesn't look like you did, because you are a bummer. It might be the way that they're facing, but I don't know. And then obviously a little bit of power goes a long way. Sweet. Now what you guys will do is once the sun's in a good angle for you, you'll start shooting into orbit 3, and then we'll have 2 orbits of Dyson Swarm. How great is that? And you're just... Oh, you're at 100% now. Nice. So you're doing 15 megawatts? Have you capped out what you're capable of producing, or what's the deal there? Max output 15 megawatts. You may have, actually, already capped out what a ray receiver can do. So we're going to want more of them. So let's take a look. Basically, I think all we need to do here is copy this and place him like so. Now, I might want 1 more of these. Note that they do require these guys, which are easy enough to make. It's just the prism and the circuit boards. So I'm debating if I want... I don't know how much else needs this, the photon combiners. We may wind up deciding that we're going to want to make them available to me to grab. Because I'm currently only putting them in the solar sail production bit, right? So we're not storing them anywhere. Though I could. Alright, now you guys should all be happy. Now look what happens. It's gonna evenly distribute the power generation to the other things. So this guy went from 15 to 7.5, right, or 8-ish, but these guys are only doing 3.34 because of their continuous receiving threshold, right? Once they all hit 100% continuous receiving, then they'll all be capable of receiving, you know, up to 15-ish. So that's 15 times 5, right? So yeah, we'll be good for a little bit at least. And how's my solar sail launchers doing? Pretty good. Pretty good. Not bad. So overall power, not too shabby. Now one of these guys who's going to shoot into orbit 3 should start shooting soonish, and then we should start seeing orbit 3 fill up, which I'm excited about. But let's go back to automating tasks. So plastic is refined oil and energetic graphite, right? We are currently one-to-oneing our plastic to our yellow crystals that we're using for yellow research cubes at this moment. So I feel like the right course of action here would be to create a dedicated plastic maker somewhere in the world that's near both a coal vein and an oil production seep. And look what I just found. A coal vein and an oil production seep right next to each other. That sounds cool. Now, the one thing is we are going to want to figure out what to do with all the hydrogen we're going to be getting. I could route that hydrogen down here. That wouldn't be terrible to do, and would probably be the best course of action. So let's plan for that, right? So what we're going to want is... Let's see, which one of these is... Yeah, oil extractor. We're going to want one of these. Cool. So we can pipe oil out of this crude oil seep, and then we will go from there. Deal. Now, this is technically north. We're right next to a pole here, right? So if we wanted to do this smartly, I'm going to have it go down here. Automating these really needs to be at the top of my, like, next to-do list. And let's math out what we're going to get here. So you're producing 191.8 per minute. And... that might be close to what this is producing. You're doing 104, so that's actually not quite close. Half after 11.6 hours of continuous mining. So it did slow down. It did slow down. That is a thing to note. Crude oil seeps do slow down. So 191 per minute, and then processing-wise... Oh, you're still doing that, that's why. Wrong facility. Okay. So you're doing 2 fuel, so you're doing 30 per minute? So you can do 6 of these, right? Ish? 6 of these ish? I think that sounds right. Okay. And then we are going... So we're going to send the oil that way and the hydrogen to the right. Does that sound like a plan? So the oil will go this way. So I think about here-ish should be enough. Okay. And then the hydrogen will go to the right. That sound fair? So the oil this way. And then the hydrogen to the right. And then you can go downwards here. Yeah, that's good. Cool. And then you guys can combine to go like that. Deal? Alright. So then exporting this, exporting that. Wait. We should filter these. Yes, that would be smart. So you were going to be refined oil, you're going to be hydrogen. You're going to be refined oil, you're going to be hydrogen. Cool? And now we can copy and paste. 1, 2. 1. It's because of the being close to the pole, but that's fine. Gives me a spot to slide in a little bit of power for us. Is that cool? So now everybody should be relatively good. And then our plastic needs this stuff. Cool. And then we're going to want a few of these. Making energized graphite. Okay. And then you're going to go along like that. You're going to go along like that. You're going to go here. You can go to this. You'll export and export. We'll copy this down the line. Copy this down the line. And how does that look? Man, that copy and paste is awesome. How amazing is that? Alright, now we need to actually make plastics, which is what your job will be. Okay. Now, will you fit here by chance? No, you won't. Okay, that's fine. I decided I kind of want you to fit. So what if we ran this, this? Because I kind of want to fit on both sides of the belts if I can. That's just the better way to go. Cool. So your job will be plastics. You can have some of this refined oil that I have and some of this energetic graphite that I have. We will copy and paste you. You can also have some energetic graphite and oil. Yes, it's good. And then you guys can probably do something like this. And we'll figure out where we want you to go. But probably something like that. Cool. That shouldn't be a bad plastic producer. And I am super out of resources, but you get the plan. You get the idea at least, right? Alright, let me go get some more stuff and we'll be right back. Now, I'll tell you what we are low on. Iron. We are going to need to ramp up an ironworks a lot better than we currently have. Because these iron veins are getting a little bit low. Look how low. Look, I think some of them are gone already, which is not ideal. So there's a couple options. Option one is we could like tap into this iron vein and dire wire some belts over to here. Option two is we can set up a nice little ironworks processing center, which is pretty cool to do. There's a few options we could look into doing. Not quite sure what I'm going to do yet. I know the simplest course of action would be a quick, you know, a little bit of a mining operation and just run some belts over. Might not be the worst idea in the world. I think I'm going to do that. Yeah, let's do that real quick. So we want to make sure that we have lots of coverage so that we can have lots of mining speed. Need foundation support. That all looks nice, right? Now what I'm going to do is run Mark III belts straight this way. And we're going to want to figure out how to run this so that they don't kind of impact too much with anything too terrible. So we could like run it under here. And then up here. And like that. Would that be cool? So it's a little dire wiry, but I mean, only a little bit, right? It's not terrible, terrible. See kind of the scale that we're talking about at this point of the game? And then what we want is something like this. Now here's my tip again for doing this. Do about 3 Mark II belts, all feeding into this. Now notice that I didn't connect those belts exactly, right? Notice how I didn't connect those belts. Okay, the reason is we want this connection to be a Mark III connection, so we want to use Mark III belts to do that connection piece. Cool. I thought I was doing all Mark IIIs here, my apologies. Yeah, this should all be Mark III now. Cool. And that will absolutely help. Now, one other thing that I'm going to recommend, and this is dire being weirdly dire, but this is the way I like to do this. You ready? We're going to do Mark III, and Mark III. Okay, I'm going to prioritize this input by clicking that. Okay, what that means, and I'm going to do it yeah, let's do it like this then. So that you get the right side priority. Okay, what that means is that all the ore that we're producing here will prioritize getting processed. And then it'll come from here. The reason I'm doing that is I want to drain these veins out. I want these veins to be completely gone. Because then we can get rid of this whole area and clear up a little bit of space on the planet. So we'll make sure that any iron that we're using comes from here first. Cool? Alright, I think it's definitely wrapping up point for the episode. So what I'm going to do real quick before we wrap up here is get my plastic. Just going to copy and paste you. Lack of item. Alright, I got more of that item, but I didn't actually make it yet. But yes, we absolutely need to wrap up here. So hopefully this will be enough plastic production for us. We'll find out. Good, it fits. Just barely, but it fits. How cool is that, huh? And now everybody should be producing just fine. The only problem is I need to run my hydrogen and do something with it. And that'll just be a simple matter of running this somewhere, right? What I'll do for now is just store it in a couple tanks. But then between episodes... Oh man, we're out of glass. Alright, no more tanks option then. Then let's just do this. Where's the hydrogen line here? It's there? Okay. So I'm just gonna wire you around a little bit. That should be cool. And then all our hydrogen will kind of augment this line. Now, is this a Mark 1 belt? Yeah, let's upgrade that to Mark 2 if we can. Seems like a smart move, right? So now all our hydrogen will go towards that hydrogen reserve that we've got over there. And that'll be nice because it'll augment our red science production, do something with this hydrogen for now, and it should be cool. Alright, so now refined oil should be back up and running. Plastic should be getting fed in. And then we can set up real quick a plastic provider, right? So you will now supply plastic with 10 drones and a little bit of power. Boom. All right, wrapping up point for the episode. Darwell20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Lots of good automation and production stuff happening today. We will come back next episode to, you know, get into some more, maybe purple research-ish time. I think that should be good. I think so. Now, we may not be producing quite enough refined oil here to meet the needs of all these plastic producers, but at least we're producing plastic at a decent pace, all right? Shouldn't be too bad. All right, wrapping up point. Darwell20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.